Rising family, I'd like to take a moment to share a beautiful message. This message is predominantly about community, unity, unity. Let me talk about the legendary Bob Marley. People may say he's a legend, but if you really know what he did in his life and his music, you will know that he is a legend. He is a legend. This man is so dear to my heart. I'm pretty sure that of all the music that I've experienced in my life and been blessed to partake of in my life, this man was the first words to have been sung to me as a child by my father. He has a dear, dear space in my heart. And honestly, what better can I say? What better way to honor his birthday a couple days ago than to share my thoughts and to share my feelings about some of his beautiful work and beautiful sentiment in the world. This morning, I was enjoying the vibrations of his album Survival. This man, let me say, I was gonna say this man was ahead of his time, but he was a visionary and a seer in his own time, and he was speaking truths that are so significant today. So significant today. He would have been 80 years old two days ago, if that's the timelines we are speaking in. But, my friends, he lives today. He will continue to live because of the truths that he embodied in his lifetime. Don't get me wrong, I don't know the man. I mean, I'll say I know the man, but I never sat next to him. Maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe I did. Okay. Anyway, let me just move on a little bit. So one thing I really wanted to point out in his song Babylon System, he says, how does he start it? He says they're building churches and universities. Oh, this was the other part. The other part of this message is what I've learned from Africa. I've never been to Africa yet in this lifetime. Not yet. But since I was a kid, I always had a love for Africa, and I was very deeply influenced by Africa. Who isn't? Let me say that to begin with. Who isn't? Who is not influenced by Africa?
Wait.
One thing I want Westerners to understand is that Africa is the richest land in the world. Diamonds, gold, cobalt, nutrients, sunshine. Like, come on. If you think, I don't know. For me, I always had a love for Africa, but I did grow up hearing Oh, there are starving kids in Africa. There are starving kids in Africa. You better eat all your food. Like, just stupid things like this. I'm not saying that's stupid. I'm not saying starving people and bringing awareness to that is stupid, okay? But let me tell you, there are starving people in America. There are starving people. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about America. Let's not talk about America. Let's just kind of talk about America for just a second. America is a falling empire. It is in the process of falling. Anyway, so one thing Bob Marley talks about in this song, he says that the Babylon system is building churches and universities. Two of the biggest things that I've learned from Africa and from my interactions with the culture and the people and the deep essences and lessons of this continent and the richness of the people. Okay? Like, first of all, God, like, it's interesting building churches and universities. They build a building so you can specifically, intentionally go into that building to worship God. To worship. But in doing that, you take that out from everyday life, every single moment, every experience. You remove that and you put it into a building with walls. Do you see what that does? It fragments this thing. So you see a lot of Western people and a lot of Christian people. Christian. Blah. Blah, blah. My mind is too expansive to talk so specifically about general things. Anyway. The same with education. Life is education. I just smelled a smell that took me back to a different country. What the heck, you see? Life is education. Too many of us in the Western world, too many people in the Western world have removed education from life. They think that the only way to educate yourself is to go into a university or something of the sort. What they missed, what they didn't realize, is that one of the best educations, probably the best ever, is to go out and to live your life and to do what you feel called to do, to pursue connections and interactions and relationships with people who interest you. Connect, learn from people who are different than you, who have had a different experience than you. Learn how to navigate through relationships. Learn how to navigate through conflict, through misunderstanding, through not seeing eye to eye. Learn how to apologize. Learn how to apologize. Learn how to say, I was wrong. Life is education. If you ever connect to the people who are coming from Africa, or if you ever go to Africa, actually, I'm not going to talk about that because I haven't been yet in this lifetime. But yes, to connect to those people, it's so different than the world that I grew up in and instilled in and influenced by. It's so different because you know what? In the times that I've had close people in my life with roots in Africa. Those people have relationships with their people. Like, they talk every day, probably. Maybe not all of them, but the ones that I've known, they talk every day. They call their people every day. They talk, you know? Like, it's an entirely different type of relationship because they can actually be comfortable with each other. So many people in the Western world are living this fragmented experience with their families. We break off from our families, we go be our individual selves, but we feel alone and we feel lost because we don't have roots, we don't have community, we don't have connection. You know what I'm saying? It's just wild. It's wild. It's so wild. So, anyway, to remove God and to remove education from life and to put it into like these specific buildings, it fragments our existence. Yeah, it's just confusing. It's confusing. It's confusing because in reality, those things are all connected. Anyway, that's just one line in his song. But he's freaking legendary. Like, of all the profound meanings and sentiments and words that this man, Robert Nesta has put into the world, I give thanks, and like, how blessed are we to just share this human experience. Remember that life is your creation. Your life is your creation. Every day you make decisions. Every day. Some people think they can't. They think they aren't making decisions. They have these certain obligations they have to do every day. Change your obligations. Like, it's a certain level of understanding what we're doing here. Like, seriously, if you don't want to freaking live somewhere, move. Obviously, there's a way you have to move through the physical world and move through these systems. But these systems are falling, and we have to uproot what is false. Because I always talk about this. It's a mental construct. All of these things are mental constructs manifested in physicality because of people's mentalities. You have to be aware of the power of your mind. You are giving in to the fear, the scarcity, the doubt, the negativity. Like, you're missing something. But I have compassion for you because you've been taught to do that. You've been taught to think that way. You've been taught that that's the only way. But my good news to you today is that that's not the only way. And it does require change. It does require shifting on our part. But we can do it. We can do it, my friends. Please be well. And I will talk to you next time.